Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday. It is 11 o'clock on the dot. This is Jeni Emson coming to you live in Honolulu, and I'm so excited about our guest speaker today. Actually, I haven't known her very long, so I'm excited to hear her story. But before I get into that, let me share a little bit about what Wellness Wednesday is here with Ladies of Justice. Values, discover your worth, take ownership, build an inclusive, diverse community, elevate women as we climb to create wealth and legacy, owning our seat at the table while integrating family as we do that. So without further ado, I'm gonna turn it over to this incredible woman. Like, I literally just had maybe a couple conversations with her. I met her through our first LOJ speaker, which was Chantel Fonseca. That launched us a handful of months now in March, or it was April. Nope, it was March. And I went over down to their office. They're an essential business that's just helping with essential needs of families. And I'm gonna not steal her thunder, but she has a background of working for Yelp in New York City. She has also a background in network marketing as a professional business owner for several years, and then her career took a turn for the better in just what she was passionate about. So I'm gonna turn it over to her. This is Nakita Bubar. She's gonna be sharing her story. So Nakita, I'm gonna turn it back over to you.
Hi, thanks so much. I have a background in working with business owners. So I started my career after college at Yelp in New York City, and I worked with small business owners, less than 6 locations. I had over 5,000 clients. And then I ended up coming back home and being a business owner for 5 years with a network marketing business. And I really had this passion for working with women and helping women find flexibility in their income and in their schedule, because I know that a lot of women choose to stay home with their children, or they just need something extra, especially in Hawaii, to help that income to survive here. But I really noticed a gap in where business owners were able to bring in the income, but then they didn't know how to plan effectively for the future. And so by meeting with my own advisor and working with her over time, I was able to learn how to effectively run my business. So instead of putting so much money in my business that I wasn't actually preparing for myself for the future or paying back my student loans or anything like that, I was actually had a financial plan for my business, as well as a financial plan for my own personal life. And it really changed the entire trajectory of my whole future financially. I truly believed that I needed to invest as much money as I could back in my business, but it was actually putting me back financially. And so by working with an advisor, I was able to pay off significant debt, credit card debt, student loan debt, pay off my car. And when I was speaking with my advisor, she mentioned how most women don't see an advisor. Usually they leave it to their husbands or their fathers to kind of run the finances for them, and they don't understand how it works. And so she said how women advisors, there's not very many, and then also just women clients, they're generally not in the meetings. And even if they are in the meetings, they kind of are there just to observe and maybe ask a couple of questions, but they don't really ask too much to find out what's going on. And I found that really eye-opening and also a little appalling, because I think that as women, we need to be aware of the finances, because what if something happens to your father or your spouse or whoever's managing that stuff for you that you don't know? Or what if you don't know what you have and something, a terrible accident happens and you don't even know where to turn or what might be there for you in resources? So I think it's really important for women to be in those meetings, to be aware of what's around, and also to just know and be empowered by their finances instead of feeling like it's something that they don't understand or isn't for them or someone else will take care of for them. And so as a financial representative, what I really want to do is hold people's hand and sit on their side of the table and really just help guide them through making sure they know what they have, making sure that they're ready, that they can retire, that if something were to happen to them, their income would still come in, whether that's illness or a disability or an injury, excuse me, or, if they were to have to step out and, not be here anymore for their family, that their family would be okay. And also making sure that whoever their partner is also taking those things into account and they're planning defensively so that if something were to happen, like we all have stories about family members who maybe get sick or injured or some kind of accident happens. And so I think being aware of what our options are, even if we don't necessarily take action today, knowing our options is the first step to feeling empowered. And so right now, what I'm trying to do during this pandemic and the shutdown and everything that's going on in this world that seems so overwhelming is I'm trying to really meet with as many people as possible, because I know that by having a conversation, people, even if they don't take any action today, they'll at least know what their options are. They'll feel more educated. They'll feel more empowered. And instead of feeling helpless in our current environment, they're going to feel significantly more in control and at least know that there's someone on their side that's cheering them on and that things are going to be okay.
Yeah, during this COVID time, just like how you mentioned, I know the first instinct for some folks is to cut back on certain expenses. By just kind of your recommendations or help with folks, is that something that's wise to do, or where would you start? Where would it be more on the going to Starbucks every day side, or would you start off with like some of those extra spa things or massage envy? Where would you start or recommend someone if they were sitting down with you and they were needing to make some lifestyle changes but not have to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm losing this thing that's so important to me?
Yeah, so that's a really great question, and I think that's on a lot of people's minds. I think the best part of working with someone like a financial representative, financial advisor, financial planner, I think the best part is it's customized to you. So by having that conversation, we can find out, like, maybe you go to Starbucks because that's just part of your habits, but you don't actually like Starbucks. Then you're like, let's maybe cut that out. Or maybe, like, I was talking to someone and they were like, oh, I'm going to stop going to my pottery class because it's so expensive. But this was like not during the pandemic, but they were just trying to cut back costs. And then we're like, okay, well, let's see all the ways you're spending money. And it turns out they hate their family vacation every year. Like, it's a huge mess every year. It's not enjoyable. So I was like, well, what if we just not do that trip that you guys hate, it seems like, and you can use that money for pottery, right? So it's about having a conversation and finding out what's important to people and we're not here to cut the joy out of your life. We're here to make more joy and make that joy last longer. So if Starbucks in the morning is the best part of your day, like, I'm not going to tell you to take that out of your life. However, I mean, so it's all situational, right? And that's the best part of having someone who's here to talk to you, is it's customized. It's not generic information for every single person. But, overall, I think if you are, maybe unemployed right now, relying on that stimulus $600 a week package that might potentially not be here anymore, like, maybe that's when we start drinking coffee at home, saving more money, making sure we're okay, that if we were not to get unemployment and unemployment funding were to stop, that we would be okay for at least 3 to 6 months of expenses, and making sure that we have that emergency fund saved up so that you can have the ease of knowing that you have that backup.
Yeah.
And I also recommend a 3 to 6 month emergency fund regardless of a pandemic.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it was kind of an awakening for a lot of people when this pandemic hit, and if they weren't prepared for something like this to happen, which I think the majority of the world wasn't, but having something put aside, or just having a backup plan, or investments kind of building up on the side, like people realize, wow, even though they talk about it every year at open enrollment at their jobs, or maybe they've discussed it with someone who sells it as a business, or to protect, like it wasn't real until, again, something like this happened. I find that to be pretty common, though. Like, usually people are interested unless they know somebody, or they experience some type of loss or effect on themselves. And I think that's what I love about Nakita's heart, is that she doesn't want to wait for that big thing to happen to you, or that loss to happen to you. She wants to prevent that from happening. And I think a lot of people in general can kind of feel like, oh, that it won't happen to me, or it hasn't happened to me yet. But you're kind of robbing yourself of that education, because this is the best time to educate yourself, is when you're not going through this crazy financial loss. And if you are, then you know that this appointment should have happened, like, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, a year ago, maybe even longer. I know that we probably have quite a variety of people that are listening in, but purchasing a home. So I know, again, you're not a real estate agent or whatnot, but you've had experience in purchasing a home and putting aside your money for that. Like, is this a good time? And I'm really kind of setting this up because I know we're going to have a real estate agent or a realtor talking here in a couple of months, or in a couple of weeks. But what, as a financial planner, what are questions that someone should be asking themselves if they're considering purchasing a home within the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, so I actually do have my real estate license. I don't practice, but I'm not planning on renewing my license. I did it more just for the education. But I think that in Hawaii, we are in a kind of a unique space where we have to choose one or the other, right? Like, the cost of living is so high. It's not like we live somewhere really affordable and we can be like, yeah, let's pay double the amount to our debts and save to buy a home and buy a new car. Like, we just don't have that cost of living. So I think that, if it's in your plan that you want to purchase a home within, the next few months or the next few years, having a really detailed plan to get you from point A to point B is really important. I think most people go to a realtor first when they want to buy a home, right? You're like, I'm going to buy a house. Let's go talk to the realtor. But in actuality, you need to be pre-approved, and you need to know how much you can afford before you even go talk to the realtor, right? So maybe you can talk to the realtor to find out kind of how much something costs for you. But in Hawaii, we also know that home prices kind of go higher as time goes on. Like, sure, they go up and down, but overall, they have a pretty steady incline. So I would recommend, looking online, seeing kind of what it costs for you to buy what you would like in your dream neighborhood, or wherever it is you want to buy. Maybe we can't do the dream neighborhood, right? But that way you at least know. Then you need to have 20% down, generally speaking, for your home, and you need to be pre-approved. So if you have zero money saved and you have no idea how much your home would cost, I think coming up with a plan to figure out, like, okay, if we want to buy a house in 5 years, how much is that 20% down? How much do we need to save every month? How can we save more money faster? How can we make our money work for us and have I like to think of every single dollar as like a soldier in your army, right? And if you just go and take 7 of your soldiers and go to Starbucks, for example, or McDonald's or whatever, then that soldier is just gone, right? But if you can take those little dollar soldiers and put them where there's, it can make you more soldiers faster, like that will be, then you still have it. It's making more money for you. So there's a lot of different options depending on how much money you have saved, what your timeline looks like, that we can make those dollars work for you. Having that analogy really helped me when I was starting to save. So, and when I was starting to work with my financial advisor, it really made me think every time I wanted something, like, do I really want that, or do I really want this big goal that's kind of in the future? And it made me really kind of figure out my priorities, and it honestly like made me way more accountable to the money I was spending every day.
Right. And I know in the past that's so helpful, because some people don't realize that that a budget is so important. I know we've had a banker or a bank auditor speak previously on our call, and it was Faye Walsh. She's one of our ladies of justice, but just the one-on-one of budgeting and the importance of that. As a financial planner, in helping so many families kind of allocate, or like how my financial planner likes to say, habufy, which is highest and best use for you.
Yeah.
What could you recommend if someone maybe has not budgeted, or maybe they've never, as a couple, been united in talking about a budget, and just, I don't know if you know general numbers of like the percentage of income that's that a family spends towards their lifestyle versus expenses, and just debt per se, and I know these are going to be all customized to every single person, but just as a general idea, or maybe if it's just even advice on like sitting down with your partner and saying, hey, we need to budget, and how to bring that up, because it could be intimidating for some women to tell or ask their spouse. I mean, I don't feel like it should be, but it could be, and no condemnation for anybody on that, and it's just like some things to start the conversation about it, and to help people so that they're not in that situation, to reach out to someone to help them.
Yeah, so I think open, honest communication, like just not even as a financial advisor, but just as a person who's in a marriage, like I think having open, honest communication with your partner and your spouse is probably one of the most important pillars in a marriage, right? I think, part of that is having these hard conversations. It might be scary, but I think taking that plunge, just be like, hey, you know what? I think it would be really important for us to talk about that. It can open a lot of doors and open up for more like high level connection, because you're talking about these things that are really important and what's important to you. If you're really nervous, I honestly think doing it with a third party, like an advisor, is helpful, because you can talk to the advisor, you can tell them what you want, and having a conversation with someone like me, you can also learn what's important to each other, right? So if I say over the next 3 years, what are you hoping to do professionally, personally, and financially, you can see how aligned you guys are, or what's more important to this person versus that person. Or if I say on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is saving for retirement for you? If one person answers 3 and the other person answers 10, you can kind of see where those discrepancies are and address them at home, right? And talk to someone and just be able to have that time and that space allocated for that conversation. I also think, going back to what you were saying about how, numbers-wise, how much should people be saving? Generally, if you would like to retire in the future, we recommend 20 to 30% of your income being saved. I know that can be really hard for people, especially if they've never saved before. And especially in Hawaii, so many people live paycheck to paycheck. There's usually not that much give in their budget. So what I really like to do is I like to kind of run through their budget and get every single number. Like, I want to know how much you're spending on your mortgage or rent, your car insurance. Like, we go down to how much money do you spend on gas? Like, let's round up. How much do you spend on clothes? How much do you spend on Starbucks? And so that way we can really see where the money is. And then if you have, let's say $300 left over, and you're not putting that $300 to your savings, like, let's find out where that's going. And then can we use maybe 100 of those dollars at first to start working towards our goals? And if you can do that for 6 months, great. Maybe let's try 200 now. Let's try 300 now. And I think if you abruptly do something that seems really crazy to someone, they're not going to stick with it. And the whole point is this lasting effect, right? Because the earlier you start saving for retirement, the better, because it's the only thing really that you can't take a loan out for in life. You can take a loan out for a car. You can take a loan out for a home. You can take a loan out to go on vacation or student loans, right? But once you retire, they're not going to give you a loan for that because they know you're not going to be working to make that money back. So I really think that the earlier we can start preparing for retirement, the more likely retirement can be. And so I think baby steps are better than no steps, and making sure people just get into the habit and then increasing that habit over time is really the best way to make something that can be a lasting habit for the rest of their lives.
Yes, awesome. And I don't know if this helps, because I know when I first, there was a lot of frivolous spending that I had when I started making a six-figure income. And when I wasn't budgeted well, I took my bank statement, my mentor had said, hey, print out 12 months of your bank statements and let's go over that. And they weren't even a financial planner. They were just kind of speaking from experience. And I realized I was spending I was single at the time. And I was spending over $2,000 on food a month. And I was like, where is this money coming and going from? But you don't realize until you actually spend the time and do it. It's so important, because I think that time that you invest in yourself, and it might feel like a lot at first, but that's because you haven't been doing anything. But once you get to the habit of maybe keeping, as a business owner, I keep a financial journal, or I budget things every other day, or at least a small amount of time a day, so that when tax time comes by, you don't feel like, oh my gosh, where is everything? Or how do I do that? Or where's this receipt? Or what did I spend that on? And it's just so important to know where your money goes. I feel like we all work so hard for it, but we're not keeping track of our soldiers. I love that analogy, by the way.
Yeah, and you know what, though? If you want to spend crazy money on food, and you can, let's just plan for that, let's not make it be this shocking discovery when you do your taxes. Let's plan for it. I plan for my $10 Starbucks order every day. Well, not every day. I plan for it 4 times a week. But I know that I'm going to go and get my special drink and my special little snack, and it's $10.29, and I get it 4 times a week, and it's planned for. I know that I'm going to do it, and so I don't feel guilty doing it. If you know you're going to go spend $600 on some fancy dinner once a month, cool. Let's plan for that. So I think that's really important. And also something I just want to touch on that we haven't really touched on, but I do think is super important during a huge pandemic, and I realized I probably should have talked about it sooner, is I've been talking to a lot of people just about life insurance, and there's 2 different kinds. There's term and whole life, and I think it's important to know the difference. Term is like renting your house, and whole life is like buying a house. So term, you only have it while you have it. It's really affordable. And whole life is you can build equity, and you have it forever. So once you complete paying for it, you have it till you pass away, and you can use that money for retirement, or you build equity and you can pull money out for different expenses. It's a short-term savings account. It is a long-term savings account. I would not tell you to put your money in it if you wanted to get money out of it in 5 years. But if you're looking at the 20, 30, 40-year range, there's really cool stuff you can do with it. But I had a couple experiences with people that I know personally in my life who had family members pass away in the last couple months, and they're doing GoFundMes, and they're doing money-raising things to help pay for a funeral. And it just makes me feel like I should have talked to them sooner, because I don't think that your family in a time of grief should be trying to figure out how to pay for a funeral. I don't think your family in a time of grief should be figuring out how they're going to make the mortgage payment. And if that's how you feel as well, I think that's a really important conversation to have. I personally have $1 million of life insurance on myself, and I'm in the process of getting another $1 million. I have the same for my husband, because I personally don't think it's enough, because I'm thinking, if I passed away tomorrow, I want my husband to have the next 30 years of my income so that he can live his life the same way. If we have kids, which we're planning on, I want to make sure they have their college money. I want to make sure our mortgages will be paid, like we're planning on buying a house. Like, I want to make sure our condo and our future home will be covered. And those are things that we can figure out. But I think it's really important. I think of life insurance as like a love letter to my loved ones, right? Like, if something were to happen to me, what is the final message I want them to get? And I want them to know that the final message, like if I were to get sick tomorrow and go in the hospital and pass away from COVID, I would want my parents and my husband and my brother and my nephew to not have to worry about financially anything. I want them to be able to grieve and take the time. And, I don't want them to be worried that the money's not coming in. I want my student loans, my student loans are paid off, but I want my parents invested in my education instead of retirement. So I want to make sure their retirement's covered. I want to make sure my nephew can go to college if I don't have kids, right? So I did have a few meetings this week with people where I wish I had started this profession earlier. I wish I had talked to more people earlier, because I'm starting to see where I could have made a huge difference in somebody's life, and I didn't get that opportunity. And so I think it's really important to have that discussion. Even if you don't take action on it, I think it's important to just be aware of it. I think during a pandemic is high time where we need to have that discussion, because if once you get sick, you won't qualify, and then it's a whole mess, right? So I do want to bring that up too. It's just something that has been really important to me, and been really, for me, has been, if something were to happen and I got sick, I know that my family would be okay. And I think most of us, especially as women, want to know our families are going to be okay.
That's for your transparency, because I know I grew up with topics like this being taboo or being not talked about, and unfortunately we carry that on to our generation, and we want to end that in this generation so that it doesn't become that kind of weird conversation, but it becomes a planning, while you're alive. And I think it's so true. I've had the same. I don't want to get started, because then I would start crying. But not this last Sunday. So the last Sunday of August, I had one of my closest cousins pass away also, and she was 29. You can't be too young. And it can't be too late for you to start considering that type of help. And making it while you're not sick is the best time to make it. And don't wait till you're sick, or wait till you get bad news, or wait till any of that. But and that's why I was excited to have Nakita on, because I knew that she was so passionate about that. And I look forward to, I know I talk about this with several of our speakers, but I want to do follow-up series eventually, because I haven't put an end date to these wellness calls, to be honest, and we're just having them every Wednesday here for the last 4 months. But I selfishly love it, because I get to know these amazing women more on a personal basis, or add a new friend. So everyone, if you like what you hear today, Nakita's gonna share her contact information on how to get in contact with her. She's Honolulu born, and she works right there in downtown Honolulu, literally down the street from me. So you could reach her either via email or phone number, or what's the best way to reach you, Nakita?
Yeah, so we're located in the Pacific Guardian Center in the Mauka Tower. So you can see the Chopa Towers are right behind me. We're right downtown. So we do have validated parking. If you don't feel comfortable coming downtown during a pandemic, I'm doing probably 99% of my meetings virtually, so that's totally fine too. You can reach me. My cell phone is 808-382-0302. And my email is just my name. It's Nakita, Nakita, period, Bubar, Bubar, @nm.com for Northwestern Mutual. And you can feel free to call me or text me, email me anytime. The only reason I don't answer is if I'm in a meeting, and I'll get right back to you. So I really look forward to connecting with all of you and helping figure out what the best plan moving forward would be.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. And guys, we're going to close it out. I wish we could talk on forever, but we do want to be respectful of your time. We can be a little amplified. But again, my name is Jeni Emson with Ladies of Justice here with Legal Shield. If you got connected to somebody who invited you on this call that wanted to share with you not just about who we are, like on this call, about our core values and our mission, but maybe you want to learn more about our legal services, our identity theft plans, or you could be a small business owner or a business that has employees. We provide employee benefits and small business benefits. Get with the person who invited you on this call so that you could get more details about that. And tune in next Wednesday at 11 o'clock because we're going to be featuring another incredible woman. I've been looking at my calendar. I have like 6 women lined up. We just don't know which order they're going to be speaking in. So I'm really excited for this next month and a half to come. And I know it's only going to get better and better. We appreciate you for tuning in here on YouTube. We appreciate you tuning in on Instagram. And if you're listening to the audio version of this, we also appreciate you. But again, don't forget to text or email or contact that person who invited you and let you know and keep you informed about. I'm really determined to have a live event here soon. But if you want to join us virtually, that is totally at your discretion. We definitely want everyone to be safe and healthy. Guys, that's it. So we'll see you next Wednesday at 11 o'clock. Thank you again so much, Nakita, and we look forward to hearing from everybody and some of the praise reports because I have a feeling a handful of people are going to reach out to Nakita, so I'm excited for that. Aloha, everyone, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.